Yes, it was just an empty screen when we started because it didn't work the way they said it did. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Oh, that's just my head. Hello. I'm going to adjust the camera angle now. I'm so sorry. That was not a smooth or straightforward start. I really apologize. Hi. Let's fix this hair, which looks great. Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to the mirror. I can't fix this on the stream. Yeah, I did do something to it. Spectacular. Sorry, everybody. I have a really bad habit of playing with my hair when I'm stressed and annoyed. Ta-da! And I've discovered that getting the stream set up is always just a bit of a challenge. It's not particularly straightforward. You can schedule things 6 ways from Sundays and link everything up, and occasionally it just doesn't work. And it's some days being tech support, content creation, the head of promotions, head of ordering, God only knows all the other things that I actually do in a week, just gets a little ahead of you. I feel like other business owners manage this with a lot more grace, but whew, I'm not one of them. And I also just want to admit that it's really challenging in this modern era. And just if you're another business owner or somebody who works for a small business and you're out there today and you're watching and you're like, oh boy, that could have gone better. You're right. This could have gone better. But I think that we need to be a lot more gentle with small business owners than we are. They're oftentimes a 1 or 2 man band trying to do everything themselves, like here. And people are definitely super critical of our efforts, shall we say. But yeah, we're doing it at least. And I think that sometimes people deserve a lot more points for just getting out there and doing it than what they get. So, hi, how are you? I hope everyone's having a great Flocktober. We're coming up to the end. I'm going to be working on my mystery knit along today because I didn't bring any other projects. I had a bit of a morning. So I'm just going to keep knitting my MCal. I'm still on clue 3. Embarrassing. Because I just couldn't keep knitting it. Oh, I do not want, and please don't worry or check in or anything. I've been pretty under the weather for about 40 days or so, and I'm starting to feel a lot better, which is great, and I'm super happy about it. I tend not to bring anything like this up till I'm already on the mend, just because it drives me a little nuts. So feeling a lot better, but it's just really limited my knitting time over the last little bit. So I had to make some peace this Flocktober with the possibility that I might not finish any projects in time. And I think that's been a really good thing for me to experience because I'm really usually quite a deadline focused person. And I will be honest, the last 40 days are a bit of a blur. Happens now and then. But yeah, so I'm back on track with my projects. I've separated for the sleeves on my Cote cardigan, which is great. And I've set up for the pockets. The other good news is that means I'm more than 3/4 of the way through the knit, if you don't count the button band, which I don't, because I actually tend to knit button bands quite quickly. It's a fun Ethan trick. So I'm going to be chipping away at that. You'll probably see a lot more about Cote in the next little bit. I've been very busy in the background doing some other things. My little Bomboloni cardigan, I've also separated for the sleeves on that, which is great. So I'm using the How to Improvise a Top-Down Raglan class from the Flock online to knit myself a cardigan to try to maximize what we can do with Spin Cycle, because I think sometimes one of the barriers with using a product like Spin Cycle is we often only see it played out in one way. Like Spin Cycle definitely gets played out quite a bit as color work, which makes so much sense, right? It's kind of Fair Isle effect color work without all the effort. And I can really appreciate that and really enjoy it. I can see my twigs in the distance, which I'm quite enjoying. And I really loved it, but I just wanted to give you guys an even bigger idea of what you can do with the Spin Cycle. If you happen to be somebody who's curious about Spin Cycle garments, I've knit a couple of them now. Overall, I think the yarn makes a great garment. Sorry, this shawl is a bit of a battle to knit at the moment. Yikes, Mundo. But yes. And so I've been very busy on the background as well, getting lots and lots of stuff done. So obviously we've been expanding what we're bringing in. around here, which is really exciting. We've opened up new pre order sections on the website for a bunch of different yarns from stockists that we work with. I think that you'll find those really, really exciting. Our goal with those pre order sections, if you're going in there to order something from the fiber company or anything else like that, is to get those fulfilled within 30 days of your order being placed. And we are working hard on developing and adapting a system so that we can get better at this because it's a new competency for us. And so it could take a little bit, but if you want to participate in helping us get our feet under us in that way and make some orders, we would love that. We are also pretty steadily teasing you guys with something that is coming to get flocked. So we are thrilled to be announcing that we have officially signed up with Brooklyn Tweed, which is great. I am getting together some cardigan previews, some great ideas. Luckily, I have great samples already with me due to my lifelong knitting fixation with Brooklyn Tweed. And I'm really blessed to have a huge amount of their pattern library stored in my brain, which is great. So I can't wait to be bringing all of this to you and to be dipping back into the incredible pattern library that they have. And over the next couple of years, to really go on a deep and broad journey through the beautiful pattern collections that they've created, through the incredible yarns that they've curated and created, and also so that we can start to chart and track how brands like Brooklyn Tweed are influencing different areas of the wool industry and what we're seeing from that, and offering more people the opportunity to knit their perfect things or to give some stuff a try, right? So I think all of this is just really, really exciting. And I'm obviously thrilled to be back in my knitting happy place. I'm not ever going to make any bones about the fact that I love Brooklyn Tweed and I love the patterns. And those of you who've been following along for a little bit probably know that. It's no secret around these parts. They're a lifelong knitting fascination for me, and I've never tired of what they have done in the past. And I think that there is a lot of value in their older patterns and collections to bring to you guys that we're not seeing from other patterns today. And I think that it's going to give a lot of knitters access to things that are really just going to make them happy and bring them great opportunities for knitting. So I'm thrilled. Um, Now, I know that it's strange because I haven't finished this knit along to possibly start talking about the next one, but Flocktober this year was all about trying to get people to have the opportunity to play with some of our new European yarns. Ooh. What sort of price will the Brooklyn Tweeds be? Expensive. So I'm not going to make any bones or excuses or try to dodge around it. The per skein price is going to be relatively high. Um, but it is a completely unique product, what we get from Brooklyn Tweed. There's nothing else like it in the world. So it's a breed specific yarn. It uses a blend of Columbia and Targhee wools, which are American bred sheep, hence the names, that are descended from merinos in part, but also from Corriedales, a sheep that was bred here in New Zealand, which is a super cool fact about the Corriedale sheep, and its impact on the global wool industry is well noted. And that was a New Zealand innovation, if you will. Of course, after the Corriedales and stuff, a lot of more selective breeding. Good morning, Amy. After the Corriedales were introduced, a lot more selective breeding occurred, and there's a great article on Oklahoma State University's website all about the development of both the Columbia and the Targhee sheeps. So they are a bright white fine wool sheep. That's a dual purpose sheep. And what they refer to this is a comeback sheep. So over time through the breeding program, they crossbred them with strong wool sheep to create a hardier, more long living sheep that will do better in the particular climates, from what I understand from the article. And then they selectively bred the Columbia and the Targhee sheep back to be finer and finer fleeces to more closely resemble their merino forefathers without losing the health benefits of the other aspects of the breeding. So it's been really cool to watch that sort of development play out and to watch Brooklyn Tweed grow and take advantage and start to really create a structure in which breed specific yarns outside of just merino are of a high value. So that's a long-winded way to say that the skeins are probably going to be around $30 to $32 each, which will still be less expensive than if you were to order direct and get it shipped here. We will do everything in our power to make everything as accessible as possible. But the great thing about the Brooklyn Tweed ones is we are going to be doing this in a pre order style system. So essentially, we will open up an order window for a selection of their products. Flock Online members will get early access to it. I'm just waiting for the confirmation of the date window that I've requested, and then we will get back to you and let you know what we're going to have in the pre order. I feel fairly certain about bringing Shelter because we do have that cabled cardigan knit along coming up. And I think that Shelter is such a great yarn for cabled cardigans. It's in relative terms not as soft as Juliet. So if you are somebody who really prizes softness and next to skin softness, and you find the majority of wools a little harsh, Shelter and Loft may not be your best friend, but it's always worth it to try it first. You are not tied in this pre-order system to taking a specific number of skeins. So you order how many you need. We round it up and purchase the difference to make sure that you get what you have ordered. And then we will either sell it or use it to make samples here in the shop. As I said, there's going to be a big focus on Shelter, and I'm working really hard on my Ravelry to gather all the cabled cardigan patterns from Brooklyn Tweed and put them into one bundle called Cabled Cardigans. And most of the ones that are in there, you're going to find are going to be there. So the great news is, while the yarn does have a relatively high price point, the meterage in the skeins is quite long. And what you are also getting is, as I said earlier, a unique series of products that feature that woolen spun heathered tweed aesthetic. Over the years, people have made quite a bit of fuss about Brooklyn Tweed being prone to breakage. In my experience, I haven't encountered that particularly much, but I also tend to be quite gentle with woolen spun yarns in general. I don't think we should yank or pull on them. Like, I'm sitting here knitting with sock yarn at the moment from Dark Omen, who are also coming in November. Oh my goodness, we have a freaking lineup for you guys. In the pre-Christmas era, this is going to be a year. And so we do have that coming, and Walk collection coming. Ooh, so exciting. But yes, Shelter and Loft are probably my two favorite yarns of all time. This isn't news to anyone who knows me. If this is news to you and you think I've said other yarns are my favorite yarns of all time, go back and rewatch everything. I've been very careful about this over the years. Loft comes in at about 275 yards, so 239 to 245 meters per 50 grams. So you're getting nearly 500 meters in a 100-gram lot. The skeins I have found historically run quite long. So this is not what the Loft label looks like any longer. This is, I believe, the second iteration of the Loft label. So this little beauty here is tartan in Loft, and you can see as we hold this up nice and close that heathered appearance is so obvious. So tartan is a blend of various shades of kind of bright teal with little pops of white and crisp little bits of brighter blue-green trapped throughout. This is one of my favorite colors of all time. I'm obviously a huge fan of, and this is going to shock you when I hold up the other two blue. So the Loft is absolutely amazing. I've never had any issues with it. I have knit several garments in it, including a chain link by Nora Gone. Oh, the Dark Omen is also up for pre-order. Oh my goodness, yeah. This is going to be a month. So strap in, everybody. So fingering weight, 275 yards per skein. I have always found Brooklyn Tweed's meterage estimates to be sufficiently generous. So if you are ordering and the sizing guide says that you need 7 skeins and there's no notes about it, you do not need to add an 8th skein. Even if you're normally somebody who would, unless you're going to be adding significant length to the pattern, I have always found that Brooklyn Tweed is generous in their meterage estimates. So just keep that in mind. So good though. We also will be bringing in this first batch something that you guys can access is Shelter for sure. And if there is something and you're watching this and you know for certain that you'd really like access to that you haven't been able to order before, please get in touch. Send us a quick email, getflockknitting@gmail.com. We're thrilled to answer your questions and help you. We know that not a lot of people have had the chance to touch and feel shelter. A lot of Quarry, Tones Light, Imbue Sport, Dapple, and Arbor Lodge. Oof, I think I got them all. Double check my math, everyone. But I have sample skeins at the shop that you can come and touch if you're a Christchurch local. So this is a skein of Shelter in Iceberg. It turns out this is the only color of Shelter I have in my stash at the moment. I have quite a bit of it. I obviously love. This colorway is Iceberg, and it does not necessarily register all of the depth of color as well as I would like. We're having a very gray day here in Christchurch, but in person, the tweed effect is even more dramatic and subtle at the same time while being incredibly beautiful. So that's Shelter, which is a worsted weight woolen spun 2-ply construction yarn. It clocks in at about 140 yards per 50 grams, so about 125 meters, give or take. It's a completely beautiful experience. I have knit everything from house slippers in it, don't at me, all the way up to Belfast, a fully cabled cardigan. I have lots of stuff knit in Shelter, and I will be bringing those in for you guys to try. It's one of my favorites. I only have one garment with me knit in Loft, which is hilarious, and it's my Frost Peak, which I really want to knit the second one. We'll see what happens. Last and not least, from the woolen spun side of Brooklyn Tweed, the Tweed woolen spuns. There are non-Tweed woolen spuns as well. That's Tones and Tones Light. Is Quarry. Quarry is an odd beast for those of you who aren't familiar with it. So it is a woolen spun bulky weight wool. It feels incredible when you knit it and wear it. It knits up. This color is called lazulite. It's the darkest blue that they produce. It actually reads both in person and uh, on camera as black almost when you see it. They have a true black called obsidian. Um, and all the original Quarry colors, the new ones, not so much. The original Quarry colors are all named after different gems and rocks, uh, hence the name Quarry. Dun dun dun. The color descriptions are really helpful. So if you're somebody who orders yarn online and you often find yourself disappointed by the results, totally get it. We've all been there. However, I will say I have ordered a lot of Brooklyn Tweed off the internet before I ever saw it. And I have always found that their color descriptions were super helpful for me for deciding what I actually wanted. So if you're looking online at color descriptions for Brooklyn Tweed, and bearing in mind our selection will be slightly different to what's available currently on the Brooklyn Tweed website, as we have access to what they have for wholesale. And so you will see the selection that we have selected, yikes. Once we get the pre-order go ahead and we have the window and everything set, we will be sure to let you know on every channel known to mankind. So it's really exciting for me to be bringing this yarn to you guys, and I hope that as we explore it together, everybody finds their perfect sort of project. Now, the thing is, there are Brooklyn Tweed projects that range from as few as one skein of Shelter, Noragon's snare hat, all the way up to kind of as many skeins of Shelter as you could possibly think of. We're talking about Belfast, Aspen, uh, the big coats, essentially. Corvid by Jared Flood. There are others. Landfall by Veronique Avery. Charlie by Veronique Avery. Those ones. Apex by Olga Berea Kefelian is actually quite a yarn friendly one if you're looking for a fully draped coat. The smallest size, I think, only uses 9 skeins of Shelter. So that's something else to look at. It can seem like you're going to be spending a huge astronomical amount of money on these things until you actually work out how many skeins are needed. There are a large variety, as I said, of different project sizes and types. And if you want to participate in, sorry guys, cabled cardigan knit along, and you don't want to knit a full-size adult cardigan, there are several BT Kids cabled cardigans that are really cute, specifically Petal by Michelle Wang, that is done in Loft. And another perennial favorite of mine, Arlo, also by Michelle Wang, but done in Shelter. So a teeny tiny little worsted weight cardigan. Won't take you any time to get it done. Whew. So there we go. Now, obviously for the upcoming cabled cardigan knit along, I'm going to be knitting Timberline by Jared Flood. Breaking news, right? My other shortlist options are Radmere by Michelle Wang, and nothing else. So it's either gonna be Timberline or Radmere, and I'm just gonna the good news is for me, it's roughly the same amount of skeins for either one, so I'm just gonna order enough for either and then make a decision. Because, you know, who knows? Um, but yeah, the mystery knit along. So I guess it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. If you haven't had a chance to go and look at the final clue of the mystery knit along and you are curious, Stephen has released the final clue. And I have to say, this mystery knit along has had some bumps for me. Largely, I am extremely disappointed, is the best possible word to describe this. And, I know that I'm about to sound like a Catholic school teacher, but breaking news, I went to Catholic school. I'm very disappointed this year in the quality of the written instructions. They have not been particularly good for several years now on the Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West. This year's Go Go Dynamo features possibly the worst written instructions I've encountered in a major designer pattern in a very long time. Now, I want to be clear. There is a significant difference between smaller independent designers who may have one or two things out and uh, I, I know, right? Breaking news. There's a big difference between smaller independent designers who may be releasing one or two patterns a year and organizations like the Westnitz Pattern Lab. When you email Stephen West today, you will notice that it goes to the Westnitz Pattern Lab, which is the organization around him that supports his designing, which means there's more than one person doing this. The Pattern Lab produces probably the highest number of patterns per year that I can think of off the top of my head, representing a singular designer. And I am of the professional opinion that when you're paying for a written pattern that costs over $20 in your local currency nearly, you should have written instructions that actually allow you to complete the project. And that was not possible this year and I'm saying this as somebody who has forced and muddled my way through it. And several people watching this have been the receivers of text messages going, does this look right? Because I have just done what the instructions say and I'm not certain about it. Um, yeah, I think that if the written instructions had been more intended to be the way that you interact with the pattern, which it clearly is not, given the fact that when you receive the pattern update, you get a video link before anything else. The only thing that is actually prioritized inside of the pattern updates, emails, Ravelry email messages, and in the actual attempt to open and download the pattern or read through the pattern is the video links. I don't want to look at a screen anymore during my day. I'm just going to be very honest about this. I spend an immense amount of my day looking at a screen full of knitting stuff. That is my day. That is 8 hours of my day. And that might sound like a dream to many of you, and I 1,000% appreciate it. But when I'm knitting, I do not like technology involved. I don't like the apps that track things. I don't want any of that. I want to be able to print a pattern, work from the pattern, and give my eyes and brain a break from technology. The mystery knit along for me has long been a source of joy and consternation. And if you're watching along at home, and if you're watching along not at home, and if you're somehow here watching this live and I haven't noticed you yet, boy, oh boy, do we really need to work on me. Um, and so, but that source of joy and consternation has been twofold. And over the past several mystery knit alongs, I have noticed a distinct decline in the quality of the written instructions that makes it hard for me as a person named Ethan, not as a yarn industry professional. And sometimes I've noticed that people really struggle to remember that I'm a person as well as somebody who sells yarn and knits things quickly. The person named Ethan really, really struggled with working my way through the pattern. If you're watching and you had a similar struggle, I think looking at the final shawl, it's turned out incredibly beautiful. I have a lot of faith in Stephen as a designer, and he really does give the mystery knit along his all. every single year. And if we look back with a uncritical eye of not having been traumatized by the pattern itself and the knitting of it, twists and turns, I think we can say overall, as an oeuvre, the collection of patterns known as the West Knits Mystery Knit-alongs are some of the most impressive in knitting and have done the most to push knitting forward, especially shawl knitting forward. There's a lot of same out there in shawl knitting. Like, how many more half crescent lace and garter shawls do we need, right? So I think that what Stephen is doing and what he does in this industry is a necessary thing if we want to see improvement. The mystery knit along, because of this, is always going to be fiddly to knit. If we want to see new boundaries pushed and experience new things and not just continuously knit the same thing, and to be clear, there is nothing wrong with continuously knitting the same thing. If you're somebody who's a repeat offender, if you just like two patterns, my friend Marie really only knits two patterns. If you're watching, Marie, I know it's only uh, Hitchhiker and a poncho that keeps getting 1,000 different names. There's a couple others in there as well for her, but a lot of knitters knit the same things over and over again. And there's a lot of different reasons for doing this. A lot of dyers tend to knit things that knit quickly, that can show off the work that they've done, progressing and creating their own unique dye style, which has led to a lot of love notes and ranunculus being great samples to show off the wares of dyers. And they may knit 4 or 5 of them in a year. There are many people who knit a whole bunch of Stephen West stuff every year. I am a serial shift cowl knitter. I would knit 50 more of them. I think I have 3 night shift shawls. Yeah, I have 3 night shift shawls. I've only knit 2 of them, but 3. Yeah, perfect, Yona. I'm glad that this is happening for other people. And again, this isn't a this is a negative. It's a written knitting pattern. It should function the way that it's stated it's going to function. And if it's not, he should say that outright and say, you need to watch the videos to knit this shawl. And then I would know to go, okay, great. I'll see you on the other side once the MCAL is done, and I'll decide if I'm going to make it. All of this long-winded preamble is to say, this is one of Stephen's best mystery knit-alongs yet, and he deserves to be supported for continuing to push the boundaries of knitting in ways that do take actual risks and can turn people off of his patterns, quite frankly. And I think it behooves us to remember that if we want these things in knitting, we do need to support them, because we have all seen what has happened to seamed patterns. So, I want new beautiful shawls. I hope all of us do. But I'm going to say it right now on the record. Next year, I will not be doing the mystery knit along, because I've already emailed the pattern lab and told them I won't. And I try to be, as much as possible, illness and other things sometimes intervene, a man of my word. And I'm very interested in not knitting the mystery knit along next year, because I want to be able to knit it from instructions. Now, saying that, I am going to knit a second Go-Go Dynamo because I love it. It's great. The finished product is spectacular. I'd also love to give a shout out to the other truly great mystery knit along shawls from my perspective. Geo Gradient with the original center, which is what I knit, and I am not ashamed of it, and I don't think anybody who knit the original square should feel bad about it. And if you have it and you love it, wear it. I knit my Geo Gradient with the original center. I think it is one of the best Stephen West shawls of all time. I absolutely love mine, and I wear it, which is a rarity for me. Slipstitch Extravaganza will go down in history as one of Stephen's best works. It is brilliant. Marled Magic is a great way to get an entry point into the mystery knit along if you've never participated before and want a taste of what Stephen is doing. And it's great because you can purely stash bust. One of the other great things to consider is Starflake. It's another 2-color shawl. The 2-color mystery knit alongs inevitably work much better than all of the other ones. Like many artists, Stephen is best under constraints. I have decided to give a shout out to the much maligned Texture Time. Yes, it can turn out looking like a giant blue vagina. let's be honest. But I think that there's a way to make it really stunning and interesting, and Steven has shown some beautiful versions of it, and I think that we just need to jump in with them. Mm. Oh, that's so interesting to know. Cool. So Yona has a great perspective. I would invite all of you to read their comments and get amongst what's happening there because there are things that can be improved, and the mystery knit along overall has some beautiful things in it. It is a little bit of a classic Stephen West where he's throwing in a chunk of bubbles and brioche. So if you end up loving that portion, you know what show to knit next. If you are having the same issues with mystery knit along, know that we will have another option for us all for next year. And that next year, I'm going to be knitting several mystery knit along shawls for my own enjoyment in between other projects. If you want to join in with me knitting some of Stephen West's better mystery, not better, but mystery knit along shawls that are already established in the original yarns, please do keep following because we're going to be getting into doing all of that next year to bring you a new aspect of what we can do with Stephen West patterns. I've also decided to knit another twigs in the new year. So if you want to get amongst twigs and spin cycle knit along, please let me know. Apart from that, that's everything I pretty much have to say today. Keep your eyes peeled for the newsletter for more information on the Brooklyn Tweed pre-order. If you're a Flock online member, start getting some ideas together from what you might like. If there's something that you think we're not going to include in the Brooklyn Tweed pre-order that you personally would really, really love to have access to, get in touch and we'll see what we can do to make that happen. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.